Hi, welcome and thank you for checking out this video. If you've got a leather sofa which has become uncomfortable because of badly sagging seat cushions and you're thinking about spending thousands on replacing or hundreds on repairing these sofas, I'm going to show you how you can repair and restore life back into your leather sofa, all for the price of some new foam and a few hours of easy work. So a quick rundown of the tools that I use for this job: handsaw, staple gun, staple remover, some fine nose pliers, tape measure, Stanley knife and scissors, electric screwdriver and a cordless drill. So this is the two-seater, and as you can see the seat cushions are pretty saggy and indented, and that's without anyone sitting on them. Once you sit on them they become even more deeper and saggy, and you're almost sitting on the floor. You can also see where the side of the armrest has collapsed inwards. I guess that's from people pushing their feet on it when they lie down on the sofa, and that has caused it to collapse inwards. So we'll be looking at how we can fix this as well. So step one, first we start by flipping the sofa over and removing the wooden base. So the base of the sofa, there's a fabric cover in it, which I now know is called the cambric cover, and this is made out of like polypropylene, and it's basically to stop any bits of loose foam sponge falling out of the sofa onto your floor. This is normally held in place with staples, so I'm just going to be removing the staples to get it loose. This is where the staple remover comes in handy, but you can use anything to get the staples out, staple remover or a flathead screwdriver. But as I say, the staple remover works the fastest and doesn't damage the sofa. And one other tip, I will be removing the staples from 3 sides and leaving one of the sides attached so as to make it easier to reattach it when we're finished. So now we can get a good look at the inside of the sofa, upside down of course. And these are the straps that hold everything together. I've given them a bit of a pull. There's still good tension on them, which is great. I thought they might have worked themselves loose over the years, but they're still quite tight. In fact, they're so tight they've actually cut into the sponge, which you can see here. If I push down, you can see where it's actually cut into the sponge. In some places it's as far as 2 to 3 inches into the sponge that these straps have cut into, which is why when we sit on the sofa it travels down much further than it should do, because these straps have cut into the foam. So basically what we'll be doing is putting additional foam in between the old foam and the straps to return the height of the sofa seat back to where it should be. What I'm looking at here is the inside of the armrest, which was dented in or had collapsed in on itself, and as you can see it's just held together by cardboard and sponge, very cheaply put together. So I'll be looking at how I can address that and get that more secure. So we move on to the actual foam inserts themselves. I order these online. There are plenty of companies that can supply you with foam cut to order. These pieces are 4 inches thick, and together they make the cushions for 1 seat. I've asked the company to split them into 2 so that it makes it easier to insert the cushions, which you'll see later on. However, that does present its own compromise, which we'll talk about later. So as you can see, definitely helps to have an extra pair of hands when doing this part. What we did, we ended up one person pulling the straps to make it loose, and the other person will wriggle it in. Trick is just to do it bit by bit, not to try and force it too much, so as not to rip the foam. Although it is high density and quite stiff, the last thing you want is to have cuts and splits in it, which will compromise the integrity. And also you don't want to break the straps, so you have to be careful. But yeah, as you can see, with a bit of persuasion, you can get the pieces underneath the straps without actually breaking too much of a sweat. And then repeat the same process on the other side. Moving aside the straps, and then just maneuvering in the new pieces of foam. So I spoke earlier about the caveat with regards to having the foam cushion cut into two to make it easier to insert. But what we have now is where the two pieces of foam meet, right in that joint is right on beneath or on top, depends on your perspective, on top of the strap that runs through the middle of the seat. The concern is that that strap could start to pull through the split in the cushion, in through the foam. And again on the other side, even more so, because that vertical strap runs underneath the horizontal, which doesn't on the other side. There's even more chance that strap is going to pull through the split between the two cushions. So I have a high-tech solution where I'm just going to put something in between the strap and the cushion to stop it pulling through the gap. Grab myself a fairly thick magazine, and I've deliberately chosen that rather than a firm bit of ply, wood or anything like that, so that it doesn't stress the foam and start to dig in and cut into the foam. Whereas the magazine hopefully will move and bend with the pressure, but not allow the strap to cut through it. And I'll do that on the other side as well. Let me know if you think of a better idea. Drop it in the comments. So now we're going to have a look at the those collapsed armrests that we spoke about earlier on in the video. This is the inside of it, and as you can see, it's just pushed through and broken the cardboard and sponge. What I've done is just put some timber braces in there, 4, as you can see, just between the two horizontals, and just screw them in from the top and the bottom, and done that, repeated it on both sides, and that seems to have done the job, and certainly will be a lot stronger and firmer than the cardboard on its own, cardboard and a sponge on its own. just a case of reversing the process. So I'm using the staple gun to reattach the cambric cover. I only undid 3 sides, so it was quite easy to realign it back into a nice tight fit. Put the base back on, being careful to line the screws up with the original holes, which makes it much easier to reattach. And then taking the opportunity to replace the felt pads on the feet to avoid the sofa scratching the floor when it gets moved around. Flip it back over, and here's our sofa. Seats very much more plump than they were to start with, maybe a little bit too plump. That's why I mentioned earlier on about potentially going for a 3-inch frame rather than 4. But I think they'll settle down after a while, and they definitely are a lot more comfortable to sit on than they were before. Sofa looks better, and I think we saved ourselves quite a bit of money. So all in all, this probably took about, moving quite slowly, an hour and a half. Probably could have done it a bit quicker. And the only cost was the foam. So for this sofa, I think it was about £50 to £60 for the foam. We did this across the 3-seater and the 2-seater. So all in all, we were able to save and restore the suite for the cost of less than £200, £150 in fact, and save myself quite a bit of money and maybe hopefully get a few more years out of the sofa just yet. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.